Stones were pelted at Vande Bharat Express connecting Howrah to New Jalpaiguri in Bengal. This comes 4 days after Prime Minister flagged off this train. According to Railways, a door of the coach has been damaged due to stone pelting. No one has been arrested for this so far. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar hit out at Beijing over border tensions and said China tried to unilaterally change the LAC. The External Affairs Minister said China did not observe agreements with India on border issues, and that is why there is tense situation between the two neighbours. He also took a dig at Pakistan, saying the epicenter of terrorism is located close to India.
I think epicenter is a very diplomatic word, because this is a country which has attacked the Parliament of India some years ago, which attacked the city of Mumbai. If you control your sovereign space, which I believe they do, if the terrorist camps operate in broad daylight in cities with recruitment and financing, can you really tell me that the Pakistani state doesn't know what's going on?
External Affairs Minister once again also fended off criticism over India's relationship with Russia post the Ukraine war, and that India is reluctant to call out Russia because we get oil and arms from the country.
We have a relationship with Moscow. We've had a long-term relationship with Moscow. I think it's important to look at that history of the relationship. It was a relationship built in a period when Western democracies used to arm a military dictatorship called Pakistan.
After 9 days of halt, the Congress Bharat Jodo Yatra resumed today and entered Uttar Pradesh. Rahul Gandhi, who's spearheading the yatra for the party, shared a moment with his sister Priyanka Gandhi, who also joined in. Prince Harry spoke out regarding the rift in the British royal family in an exclusive interview with CNN. He referred to the royal family. Harry said they've shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile.
Every single time I've tried to do it privately, there have been briefings and leakings and planting of stories against me and my wife. They will feed or have a conversation with the correspondent, and that correspondent will literally be spoon-fed information and write the story, and at the bottom of it, they will say that they've reached out to Buckingham Palace for comment. But the whole story is Buckingham Palace commenting. So when we're being told for the last 6 years, we can't put a statement out to protect you, but you do it for other members of the family, there becomes a point when silence is betrayal.
4 passengers were killed in Australia after 2 helicopters collided mid-air. One helicopter landed safely on a sandbar, but debris from the other was spread across an area. 3 passengers have also been critically injured in this incident. Residents in California are bracing for another round of powerful storms this week after flooding on New Year's Eve. Floods have forced multiple evacuations in California. Drone footage shows cars, homes and highways all inundated. Russian airstrikes have rocked Kyiv. Many homes and residential buildings have been reduced to rubble. Russia's defense ministry said it had targeted production, storage and launch sites of Ukrainian drones. But Ukrainians claim the attacks were focused on the downtown areas of large cities. Finally, leaving you with the visual of a man riding a motorbike to climb a steep mountain. This video has now gone viral. We'll leave you with that. Thanks a lot for watching.
उस टाइम पर डिसीज्ड के साथ एक और लड़की थी और उसके मुताबिक ये जो घटना घटी है उस टाइम पर वो थी और उसको कोई इंजरी नहीं हुई थी और वो उठकर वहाँ से चली गई थी।
पुलिस ऑफिसर्स जिन्होंने जो पीसीआर की वैन्स को कॉल हुए उन्होंने रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं किया। वो पुलिस अफसर जिन्होंने एफआईआर सिर्फ एक आरोपी के खिलाफ दर्ज की। वो पुलिस अफसर जिन्होंने कमजोर धाराओं में एफआईआर दर्ज की कि जो आरोपी हैं वो बच जाए।
ये बहुत दुर्भाग्यशील दुर्घटना है और मैं चाहता हूँ कि पूरी दिल्ली के पूरे देश में कभी ऐसी किसी बच्ची के साथ नहीं होना चाहिए था और जो भी आरोपी हैं उनको कड़क से कड़क सज़ा होनी चाहिए। एक बच्ची के साथ इस तरीके की दुर्घटना हुई है, एक बच्चे ने अपनी जान गंवाई है, उसके बावजूद आप इस तरीके की राजनीति करना चाहते हैं।
Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. Who are we as a nation, ladies and gentlemen? Are we a nation that cares or are we a nation that just doesn't care? Are we a nation that cares for everyone, cares for society, cares for humanity? Or are we a nation who just care for ourselves? Are we so selfish? Are we so filled with apathy? Doesn't this entire case that happened with 23-year-old Anjali reek of apathy? Apathy at all levels. Let's take, for example, the 23-year-old was with a friend. Did that friend want to save Anjali's life? Or did she look at self-preservation and did she run away? She ran away at that moment. She may have been scared, but she kept quiet for more than 48 hours. Doesn't that reek of apathy? Those brutes inside the Baleno who knew that there is something stuck on their car and they've hit someone. They didn't get out of the car. They tried to run away and they dragged her on for 12 kilometers and then they thought they'll just dump the body there and get away with it. Don't they reek of apathy? The passers-by, 12 kilometers, nobody saw. On New Year's Day, when the entire city is out, reveling and there is traffic on the streets. The 3 PCR vans, they didn't see. Or did they just not care? Those calls that were made to the PCR, the person who was supposed to man that call or should have attended that call, the personnel, did they think it's just another prank call? Chodo yaar, kaun uthayega? Doesn't that reek of apathy? The cops who wrote the FIR knowing fully well that there are 5 people involved, 4 in the car, one to whom the car belonged but named only one person. Doesn't that reek of apathy? Did somebody influential try and tell the cops go slow? And doesn't that reek of apathy saying that I'd rather save whom I know and I don't care about the life of a 23-year-old? Who are we as India, ladies and gentlemen? And doesn't this entire saga that unfolded on the first day of 2023 reek of apathy? And that too, ladies and gentlemen, a decade after Nirbhaya. A decade after Nirbhaya, are we still a nation that just doesn't care? A nation that will shirk their own responsibility towards humanity and society at a drop of a hat and just talk about self-preservation? How are we going to enter our Amrit Kal this way, ladies and gentlemen? How are we to? Have a look at these pictures. The entire sequence is caught on camera. But these CCTV cameras are also personal CCTV cameras that are home installed CCTV cameras. So a system that doesn't care about our security. And look at the streets, are they lit or are they dimly lit? Again a system that doesn't care, again apathy. But what does it show? The sequence of events, 1:17 a.m. These are the 2 girls, Anjali and Nidhi, her friend, both of them having an altercation outside a hotel room where they were since 8:30 p.m. They had gotten in, presented their ID cards, booked a room. They had an altercation inside a room. They are coming out. They are about to get into that scooty behind this green one. That's the black scooty that is there. And then as they are about to get on it, the 2 of them are having an altercation. The girl in the pink sweater is Anjali. The girl who died, the one in the red sweater is Nidhi. The girl, the friend who ran away, who went away. Then what happens next? 1st of Jan at 1:31 a.m., both of them are seen leaving. Now, eventually, in this case, it's interesting that it is Nidhi who's actually driving the scooty first when they take off, and she's riding pillion, that's Anjali. But in the next picture, it's very interesting. After 1:30, the next picture are at 2:05. So wherever they were was at least half an hour away from their place of residence or where they were heading to. And in this case, amidst the light of the CCTV camera catching the scooty lights, you would see that Nidhi is now riding pillion and it's Anjali who is actually riding the scooty. 40 seconds after they turn from this point here in Sultanpuri, a narrow street, they turn in. 45 seconds later comes this car. That's the grey Baleno, inside which are the culprits. And as it passes, see what happens. There is dust as if something's being dragged under this car on a tar road. And there is one slipper that falls off here and another one at the top of the screen there. 2 pieces of footwear fall off. But the car is actually trying to speed away. And it's dragging. 3:34 a.m. This is, you see, 90 minutes plus. 90 minutes later, this car is taking a U-turn here with its windows up. It's all dark, but you see a body still being dragged by this car, ladies and gentlemen. All of you who are viewers of this show here on CNN News 18 have either sat inside a car or know how to drive a four-wheeler. You will know that the moment there is something dragging the vehicle, you will feel it. If you can feel a flat tire, you're saying these brutes didn't feel the weight of a body, a human being dragged, and in a Baleno. It's not a big SUV or a big monster truck. It's a Baleno. It's a small car with very little ground clearance. Anjali's body would have been obstructing the path of that vehicle all those 12 kilometers, yet these brutes did nothing about it. Can they get away by saying we were high, music was high, windows were high? Or would you want them to get the strictest of punishment because they didn't care? They knew and they didn't care. Listen in to the friend who we spoke to here at News 18 India. She is also guilty of not caring, but this is what she said.
एकदम वो लड़के आए आगे से, सामने की टक्कर थी, वो आए सामने से और हम भी सामने से आ रहे थे। मैं साइड गिर गई उल्टी साइड और वो सामने बिल्कुल अंदर फंस गई, कनेक्टर साइड बिल्कुल सीधे की साइड फंस गई। वो फंसने के बाद वो चीख भी रही है कि मुझे बचाओ, निकालो। तो उसने बोला कि मैं बचाओ, उन्होंने उसको नहीं निकाला। उन्होंने जान पूछ के, उनको पता था कि लड़की उनकी गाड़ी के नीचे है।
और आप उसको अकेले छोड़ के चले गई थी वहां पर जब एक्सीडेंट हुआ, वो बलेनो गाड़ी से?
उसको गाड़ी ले गई थी खींचकर।
गाड़ी खींच के ले गई थी, तो आपने पीसीआर को कभी कॉल नहीं की, पुलिस को नहीं बताया आपने?
क्योंकि मेरा उस दौरान फोन भी टूट गया था। फोन टूटने पर मैं बहुत होपलेस हो गई थी। मेरे को जो ठीक लगा अपने घर जाना। अगर वो हादसा मेरे साथ होता, वो भी यही करती, वो अपने घर जाती।
मतलब वो लड़के अंजलि को वहीं पर मिले हैं पांचों?
नहीं, वो लड़के तो जानते ही नहीं थे, ना अंजलि को ना मुझे।
नहीं जानते थे। और आपको पुलिस ने
अपनी गाड़ी के ब्लैक शीशे कर रखे थे। उन लड़कों ने अपनी गाड़ी के ब्लैक शीशे कर रखे थे, कुछ लगा रखा था, गाड़ी मतलब काले कर रखे थे। उन्होंने कुछ लगा रखा था चिपकू। तो उन लड़कों की हमें शकल मेरे को नहीं दिखी शकल। वो तो अंजलि तो नीचे ही फंस गई थी, नीचे से ही वो चिल्ला रही थी कि मुझे बचाओ, मुझे बचाओ।
आप ये बताइए, ये कितने बजे का वाकया है जब ये पूरा एक्सीडेंट हुआ था और आप सामने घसीटते ले गए उसको? क्या आपने बचाने, क्या आपने रोका, कुछ बोला, क्या हुआ था वो घटना का फिर से बताइए एक बार।
वो मेरे ऊपर ही चढ़ाने की कोशिश कर रहे थे वो लड़के। ये रात को 2 बजे हम वहां से निकले हैं। ये 2-3 के बीच ऐसा कुछ हुआ है। 2-3 के बीच ऐसा कुछ हुआ है। वो गाड़ी ने बिल्कुल हमें ठोक दिया। हमने बचाव भी करा उस गाड़ी ने।
दिल्ली पुलिस कैसे पहुंची आप तक?
उन्होंने मुझे मेरे घर पे आ गए थे बस।
For 2 whole days she didn't step up and she didn't come out and recount what happened. It's the cops who knocked at her door, so questions would have to be asked about her. She saw her friend being dragged away, she saw her friend being screaming, but she didn't say anything. But she said that मैं रोकती तो मुझे ऊपर चढ़ाने आते वो लड़के। She said, I couldn't make out who they were, but she knew that they were boys inside the car. What transpired there is not just a hit and run. There seems to be more. And again, it comes back to those involved who didn't care about a human life. Some glaring questions before us, ladies and gentlemen, for cops and also for society at large. Let's try and look at it. Why did 3 PCR calls go unanswered? Is the first question that comes to mind. If 3 PCR vans crossed the car, why wasn't it stopped? This car was breaking a lot of rules, along with dragging a human body, but it was not stopped on New Year's Day. What were the cops doing and what are these PCR vans doing? Why did it take 48 hours to get to the main eyewitness for the cops? Were the cops initially asked to go slow? And if so, who asked them? Who asked them to water down the FIR? Who is this person? And whoever is this person, should that person not be also censored, shamed, named, shamed, and also put together and slapped with cases for trying to abet a crime? Where are the government CCTV and street lights that were to ensure security of the people of Delhi? बहुत वादे किए 2012 से लेकर आज तक, क्या हुआ? And why did the eyewitness and those passing by not raise an alarm? वो चिल्ला रही थी, she tells News18 India, but तुमने क्या किया? She says nothing. Why did the friend stay silent for 48 hours? Has this case exposed India's apathy yet again? And does this crime merit capital punishment, or will these brutes, like many others, just get away as the cases drags on and this case also fades from public memory, and eventually will they get away, ladies and gentlemen? Anjali betrayed by apathy is the question that we ask. Let's go across to our guest straight away. Dr. Vikram Singh, former IPS, Abha Singh, lawyer, Ishkaran Bhandari, lawyer, and also Nigat Abbas with us. Namaste, Jai Hind, and thank you very, very much. Your first thoughts, Ishkaran Bhandari, what should be done?
My first thought is God save everybody from friends like this. Of course, what the people in the car did, I'll come to that. But what I'm hearing, 48 hours after the accident, even after reaching home, she does not call the police or her friend's family is shocking to me, and I'm very sure police will investigate, because this is not normal course of action. Forget law. If your friend has had an accident, you go home, even if your phone was broken, that also needs to be checked whether the phone was broken or not. But I find that very surprising, and this is the first time I've heard this. So this is extremely shocking. But let's come to the other aspect of it. I have always maintained people who drink and drive need to be booked under 304 Part 2. Very often they get booked under 304 Part A, 304A, in which you have only 2 years sentence. But Salman Khan onwards, even this Nanda case which happened on Delhi BMW roads, police now books these people under stringent sections of law, which is what they do all over the world, and that is what has to be done in this country. What is also shocking is, how could a body be dragged for so long without any PCR van stopping it? Delhi, every second corner there is a checkpost. So that is definitely a failure of law and order, especially because it's 31st December, which is a very sensitive time. There is a possibility of terror attack. They know that crime shoots up. They know people are drinking in parties in the night. So Delhi generally is a very, very sensitive zone on New Year's Eve, which cannot be ignored. Lastly, why these people didn't stop? If you have an accident, you stop. Accident can happen with anybody if they didn't know each other, because initially there was also this question mark, was it a case of sexual assault or not, which the post-mortem has to say, or the friend is saying that it was not a case of people knowing each other. So why didn't they stop? Why has humanity died? If you unfortunately have an accident, you stop. Her life would have been saved. They wouldn't have faced the law with this magnitude. So there are a lot of societal issues along with law and order issues in this case.
There are. Vikram Singh ji, my question is, गाड़ी में 4 लोग थे, 5वें की गाड़ी थी, FIR में 1 का नाम, and weaker sections. What would you do to such an officer?
Anandji, suspend all the personnel in the police station at that point of time, and those who were the first responders, they need to be suspended immediately. That has not been done. And this way, we will do it only after the inquiry is over. This is not something known as prima facie. Prima facie, they seem to be guilty of misconduct and also lose a knee-jerk reaction. Look at the pearls of wisdom coming out from the first statement of the police that it is not a sexual assault. Even before the post-mortem is complete, you say that it is a death by accident and that the driver and everybody was drunk. You are speaking like a defense lawyer, not like a professional police officer. You're only supposed to state matter of facts. 22 calls by Deepak Dahiya, not a single response. All those who were supposed to receive the calls and did not react need to be placed under suspension also. And if there is negligence that is proved in 48 hours, they should be dismissed from service. Delhi demands a price, the nation demands a price. And this needs to be, you have to be cruel to be kind under these circumstances, because this way that you have something like a multinational corporate, the police department is different, where the rewards and punishments go simultaneously and are instantaneous. And if it is not instantaneous, the signal goes that everything is wishy-washy. The serial faults that the police investigation and the response was, I could go on and the entire show would be devoted to the flaws committed by the police department. We will not go into that. But the apathy, the indifference and the callousness displayed is indeed unimaginable, and it's a tragedy. The friend, as you said, the friend in fact is very confident, articulate, reasonably educated, and to say that she was hopeless. If you're not hopeless to realize what has happened, go home. Everybody in the family has a mobile phone, multiple phone calls, the neighbors have phones, your friends have phones. You could have taken recourse to the use of force, but not to inform the police, not to disclose anything to your parents, not to disclose anything about the horrific incidents. Also, as you very rightly mentioned, requires a much, much deeper probe. Like you, I'm also a little concerned, but I'll reserve my comments till the investigation comes out with the true facts.
No, Abha Singh, these are not 14, 15-year-old juvenile. They are people who have the right to vote, the right to get married, the right to drive a car, the right to get employed, the right to shape the destiny of our country. And they think that it is okay to not talk about a friend being dragged away. And those who are inside the car are also valid license holders, they are also not juvenile. What kind of a brute would think कि चलो यार खिंचती है खिंचने दो, मरती है मरने दो, चिल्ला रही है चिल्लाने दो, मुझे मेरा जश्न मनाना है, म्यूजिक हाई बज रहा है तो मेरे को आवाज नहीं आई. आप क्या कह रहे हो? आपकी गाड़ी में आप बैठते हैं आबाजी. Do you not know that there is something wrong in the car if something is dragging, pulling it?
For sure, Anand, for sure. In fact, when you're talking of rights, my first issue is we have forgotten what are our duties. We have forgotten Article 15A that you have certain duties towards the Constitution, you have certain duties towards the country. Now, when we talk of apathy, I agree with you with apathy, but bigger than that is 154 CRPC, which says as a good citizen, if you see a crime which is happening, it is your duty to go to the nearest police station and lodge a complaint. I would like to ask this girl, was it not your duty to go to a police station, take your parents and go to the police station? I would also charge her under 34, that 34 of the IPC, which says when an act is done by several persons for furtherance of a common intention, because the intention was there, those people who were there in the car. If an accident happened, why not like a good Samaritan? They took this girl to the hospital, so they would have not been. They would have gone off easily. But here, not taking her to the police station, not taking her to the hospital, but running away makes them bigger guilty of the offense. So not only the friend, but the people inside have to be booked for serious charges. Coming to the police, yes, it's very serious. You have around 5,000 people in PCR vans, more than 800 PCR vans. But how come nobody reported? How come nobody responded? That is a big issue, and that is where the police responsibility comes. Also of the local police station, what about your beat policing? Every area is marked, there are beat constables, they are supposed to see their area. So what were they doing when you knew it was the new year? So it is not only the people who were driving, but everybody is responsible. And yes, nobody saw, nobody complained. It shows of apathy, but more than apathy, it is violation of your duty as a citizen. It is violation of the CRPC, which says it is a duty to go to the police station and tell if you have seen a crime which is happening. So I think everybody is kept quiet because people feel that, oh, this friend particularly. But I would still say that this young girl got scared. Everybody would have told her, "Arey police ke chakkar mein mat pado, problem ho jayegi tumhe." You know how the trial goes on. This girl would be scared that I'll be a witness and mujhe trial mein jana hoga, I'll be threatened. And we know how it happens, how witnesses are bummed off, how these witnesses are bullied, blackmailed. So maybe this young girl, she knew the way the system runs in this country. She did not have the courage to come forward and lodge a complaint. But then I cannot absolve the cops, because they should have been there on the ground. The PCR van should have reached, and the people who were driving, they are the biggest criminals, I would say, on earth, that you first hit a girl and then you don't take her to the police station. So these are the issues. I still sympathize with the friend, because the way the system is, she would not have the courage to go to the police station. She would have not the courage. People would have told her, don't become a witness, because we don't have a witness protection program per se in this country.
But the fact is that this girl was a friend and this girl died. At that point in time, she may have been scared. But the next day, when it was plastered all across the papers, when it was running everywhere that this young girl has died, at that time also it didn't prick their conscience, Abaji.
You know, this speaks of the system of this country. Let us see how many eyewitnesses have been killed. They've been shot dead outside police stations. They've been shot dead outside courts. You know, there was this case in Mathura where a rape victim was coming to depose and she was shot dead outside the police station, outside the court. So here, these are 5 drunkards, goons, and this girl got scared. Of course, nobody can absolve her from the responsibility. Next day, her name could have been kept anonymous. But this speaks, when we talk of apathy, this speaks of the prevalent system.
No, but my point is, Abaji, she is a mature young girl. She has the right to vote in this country. She has the right to get married. She has the right to own property. She's got all the rights as per as the constitution, because she's also a 22, 23-year-old girl. And today, 48 to 72 hours later, she of her own volition has sat in front of the camera and spoken about it. She has done it. So if she has the thought process, if she has the sense to do all of this, you are telling me that when she realized her friend has been killed, she still didn't step up and say these are the brutes, and they did it deliberately.
She has come when the police found her. So I said, we are talking of rights, but we Indians, we lack that integrity of duties. What are our duties? I think this case should be a line.
I think Nidhi is speaking just now. One of her reactions is coming. I'll play that out and come to you, Nigat Abbas, and then also reactions from Vikram Singh and Ishkaran. Let's just listen in.
ब्रेक देके गाड़ी रुकवाई. गाड़ी रुकवाने के बाद फिर हम गए आगे जाने के बाद हमने क्या करा, वो गाड़ी आ रही थी, ब्लैनो कलर की गाड़ी आ रही थी, ब्राउन कलर की ब्लैनो गाड़ी थी. उसने सामने से सामने टक्कर करी हमें. लड़की गाड़ी के नीचे आ गई. लड़की नशे में थी बहुत ज्यादा. लड़की गाड़ी के नीचे आ गई. लड़की बहुत ज्यादा नशे में थी. लड़की गाड़ी के नीचे आ गई. ठीक है, लड़की की गलती है. जो लड़की इतने नशे में ड्राइविंग कर रही है, मैंने उसको मना करा कि मत चला, मैं होश में हूँ, मेरे को चलाने दो. उसने मेरे पे विश्वास नहीं करा. उसने अपने आप पे विश्वास करा कि नहीं बहन, तू घेर देगी मुझे, मैं चलाऊंगी. मैंने कहा ठीक है.
एक चीज मुझे पूछना है, बोलने दो यार. आप ये बताइए, एक मिनट रुक जाओ. आप बताइए फिर क्या हुआ. बोलने दो यार. कोई बोलो फिर क्या हुआ. फिर
कुछ नहीं. फिर हम वहाँ से जा रहे थे, आगे से गाड़ी आ रही थी, प्लानो है, तो गाड़ी लड़की आगे गिरी, मैं साइड में गिर गई. फिर टक्कर हो गई, वो गाड़ी के नीचे घुस गई. हाँ, लड़कों को पता था कि भाईजान उनके नीचे एक लड़की है. लड़कों ने जानबूझ के इस मौत को अंजाम दिया. उनको पता था, लड़की नीचे से चिल्ला रही थी. मैं होपलेस हो गई थी बहुत ज्यादा, इसलिए मैं चली गई. मैंने किसी को डर के मारे नहीं बताया. मैं किसको बताती, मैंने किसी को नहीं बताया. मैं घर पे चली गई डर के मारे. मैं घर पे जाने के बाद मैं बहुत रोई. उसको ब्लैनो गाड़ी 2 बार आगे लेके गई, 2 बार पीछे लेके, फिर आगे लेके, फिर स्पीड में उसे खींचती हुई अपनी उसके नीचे, उसके कुछ अटक गया था. वो किसी चीज में अटक गई थी नीचे गाड़ी के. अटकने के बाद वो आगे गई, पीछे गई, आगे गई. फिर उसे गाड़ी बिल्कुल आगे घसीट के ले गई. फिर उसे घसीटते वो छुट्टी नहीं होगी, उसे घसीटते बिल्कुल आगे ले गई. अच्छा निधि, इसी दौरान उसकी मौत हो गई. अच्छा निधि, आपने क्यों नहीं बताया था किसी को? क्योंकि मैं बहुत ज्यादा डर गई थी और मैं नहीं चाहती थी कि मेरे घर वालों पे बात आए और कुछ भी बात आए, इसलिए मैं बहुत ज्यादा डर गई. आप लोगों के बीच में क्या झगड़ा होता? जानते हैं, उसकी मम्मी जानती है.
अच्छा, आप लोगों की भी झगड़ा इस बात को लेकर हुआ था?
झगड़ा ही नहीं हुआ हमारा। मैं कह रही थी मैं ड्राइविंग करूंगी क्योंकि उसमें बहुत ज्यादा नशे में थी।
अच्छा,
निधि एक चीज बताओ जरा, एक चीज बताओ, आपने 4 लड़कों से बात की थी, वो 4 लड़के कौन थे?
नहीं, वो हमने बात नहीं करी थी, वो हमारा पीछा कर रहे थे।
वो पीछा कर रहे थे? कौन? वो बलिनो वाले पीछा कर रहे थे आपका?
नहीं, वो बलेनो वाले नहीं कर रहे थे, वो जो वो के बाहर खड़े थे, वो हमसे बात कर रहे थे। ऐसे हमारी लड़ाई नहीं हो रही थी, वो हमारी ऐसे चाबी पे बहस हो रही थी। वो कह रही थी मैं ड्राइविंग करूंगी, मैं कह रही थी मैं ड्राइविंग करूंगी।
कमरे में भी दोनों की लड़ाई हुई आप लोगों
नहीं, वो एक
अच्छा,
ठीक है।
अच्छा ये बताओ निधि, अच्छा निधि एक बात ये बताओ कि वजह क्या थी? कोई बॉयफ्रेंड की बात थी?
हाँ, उनके पर्सनल मैटर था, उनका पर्सनल मैटर था, उसमें मेरे को नहीं पता उनका पर्सनल मैटर था। क्या हुआ उन दोनों के बीच, क्या नहीं हुआ, वो हम दोनों को पता है। मैं बाहर चली गई थी उस
आपने
टाइम
कुछ
पे।
बोला था निधि ने ऐसा?
अंजलि ने मुझसे कुछ ऐसा नहीं बोला।
अच्छा,
बस
कितने सालों से जानते थे? थोड़ा पीछे भी।
मुझे अंजलि को
पीछे मत लो।
हो गया, जनता बैठे हो गया क्या? नहीं,
So now there is more. There is more that's been added now, Nigatapas. What's been added by Nidhi now is that Anjali was inebriated. The argument which is captured on CCTV outside, and we'll try and play that part out right outside that hotel. That argument is about who is going to drive. And her argument and what she's saying is she was arguing with her friend because her friend was inebriated, not in a condition to drive. And so she starts the driving line. I pointed this out. But later on, again, it is Anjali who's on the wheel. But what she turns around and says is that this car first moved forward, moved back, moved forward, moved back, and then continued to drag her on. So these brutes knew exactly what they were doing. And then they are trying to play holier than thou, saying, "Hame pata hi nahi tha." And there is somebody who's tried to give them cover fire to water down the FIR. Who's this person?
No, that's completely nonsense that they didn't get to know. Even if I'm not driving, if my driver is driving, somebody else is driving, and even if a paper comes under the tire of the car, I would realize, the driver would realize that there's something, and that's the entire body which is weighing nothing less than 50-55 kgs. But what I see right now, what Nidhi is talking about right now, I think there's more to investigate right now through the police, because this brings in the more information. The channels are more open. I mean, this might be a scene. What I personally feel, this is my personal opinion, that this might be the case that these people know each other before they had met with an accident. They might be in an argument, or they might have had some kind of conversation, because initially we knew that this girl was working in a company, and now what I'm seeing on your channel is that she was in a hotel in some room. So probably these people know each other. They were friends, or I don't know. Maybe.
No, what has been said, Nigat, so far, and I'll tell you, I'm just going to go by what we know so far. What we know is that at 8:30 p.m. at this hotel room, these two girls went and booked a room. They were inside the room. Now what this girl Nidhi has revealed is that the altercation or the shouting that happened was Anjali having some issue with her friend or boyfriend or whatever is being alleged. She says she was out of the room. Then we have CCTV footage which confirms them stepping out at around 1:30 in the night, outside the hotel at 1:17 a.m. They are stepping out. They are about to get to the scooty, where it just looks like Nidhi is telling Anjali, "I will drive," and then they are having an argument about who will drive. Now this is exactly what Nidhi is now saying, that she was the argument, the बहस जो हुई थी, झगड़ा नहीं था, बहस थी कि गाड़ी कौन चलाएगा, and I was telling her, मैं होश में हूं, तू होश में नहीं है, मैं गाड़ी चलाऊंगी. That is also corroborated with the footage. In the footage, actually it is Nidhi who's taking out the scooty eventually, and Anjali sitting riding pillion. But half an hour later at 2:05, when that scooty is passing that curb at that CCTV camera, it is Anjali on the wheel. So somewhere half an hour in this distance, somewhere the argument has happened again, and Anjali has said, "I am more confident driving this. I don't have confidence in you driving," and this is exactly what Nidhi is saying. But this is where things start changing. When she spoke with News18 India, she said, "ये गाड़ी ने सामने से आके टक्कर मारी, मैं एक तरफ गिर गई और अंजलि उसके साथ ड्रैग होके चली गई." Now she is saying that these boys, they inside the car, they forwarded. Or they went forward, then they reversed, then they went forward, and then they reversed, and then they drove off. So they have these people knew that somebody had come under the car, something
is
had,
stuck.
and they tried to run her over. And she also said कि अगर मैं सामने जाती तो मुझे भी कुचल देते.
So Anand, this could also be a possibility that these guys knew this girl and they aggressively on purpose did that. This is nowhere a hit and run case.
See, again in both cases they have said both times one thing consistent with Nidhi is that she says that we did not know these people and they did not know who we are. But ये सामने से बलिनो आई हमें टक्कर मार दी.
You know, it's hard to digest right now because a girl who's coming after 48 to 72 hours, speaking to the news channels, speaking to the police right now, I can't really know that if she is, revealing the entire facts or not, because she kept quiet for more than 2 days. So that's really horrid. That's horrendous. She needs to come in and speak. Probably the interrogation is needed more. Probably the police needs to investigate the matter because we can't really trust the girl right now because she probably might be in that pressure of the society.
Some other
She
things
might
which
be
are
in the pressure of the
inconsistent.
family.
Anjali's mother, Vikram Singh ji, says, we don't know who Nidhi is. Nidhi right now says, of course Anjali's mother knows me. Now, the other point is she says, I was so scared. I didn't even tell my own parents. I didn't tell anybody. I was very, very scared. I was hopeless. That's why I went home, but I was very scared. You were scared, but a friend's life went away. That did not matter is a question one would want to keep asking Nidhi. But let's go back to the brutes. The point in question is the inaction of the cops, but more importantly, somebody told the cops or somewhere exerted certain influence, Vikram Singh ji, to water down this FIR. And these brutes knew what they were doing. These brutes.
You said it.
Will you now say that they should be booked for murder? They did it deliberately, sir. Yes, Vikram Singh ji. I think we've just lost Vikram Singh ji. Ishkaran, you had put your hand up earlier. Yes.
Yes. Anand, the only thing consistent in this case is the inconsistencies. The girl now says that the victim on the scooter was also drunk. She does not come out for 2 days. She does not speak. So I don't know how much we can trust her.
No, but this is something which the cops have also said. This is something which the cops have also said, that both parties were inebriated, those on the car and those on the scooter.
Yes. So, as I said, there are 3 parties to this. The people on the scooter, the criminals in the car and the police action. So right now what we have to see is why did the police not act due to multiple calls? Why did the police not book under stringent sections of law? Why did the police not wait for post-mortem because the body had been found without clothes? It could have been a case of sexual assault also. They should have at least waited for the post-mortem. All these questions and why
the post-mortem confirms no sexual assault. Post-mortem report
now
is
it
out.
does. It does. Now it does. But I'm saying when the initial statements were coming out, they had to wait for that to come to this conclusion. So what was being done? There is a lot of investigation required yet in this matter because a lot of things don't seem to make sense in this case. Girl not speaking for 2 days, the guys in the car not stopping the car even if they had an accident. Now the version is coming, they went forward, they went back, they went forward, they went back. That means they were deliberately trying to murder. Also, why the police didn't act in a stringent manner, applying the most stringent sections of law. So all this needs to come, and that is why I think a special CP of the police has been tasked with investigating the entire matter, supervising the entire matter.
Here is the other thing.
Here
is the other thing. Abha Singh ji put her hand up, and then final comment from Vikram Singh ji. Abha ji, these people have told the cops, हमें पता ही नहीं था because we were drunk, कार के शीशे चढ़े हुए थे और music was high. But if Nidhi's version is that they went forward and backward, reversed also, that means they knew somebody or something is stuck in the car and they tried to lose whatever was stuck on the car and then they did not know for 12 kilometers.
Exactly. I mean, that reversing and forwarding was specially done so that they could get free of the body which had stuck to the car or the corpse of this girl. But Anand, one more thing I would like to say. Everybody's pouncing on this girl who's kept quiet. What was the Me Too movement? Women who had been raped, sexually assaulted, but kept quiet for years because they were scared to go and lodge a complaint. They were scared to tell the family. So you have to keep that in mind, that this girl was scared. She thought she didn't even tell her parents. She said, first they will scold me that why did you go for a New Year party? Why did you drink drink or whatever. So, and also tomorrow, maybe these goons would, these boys, these criminals would have come and threatened her. So let us not forget this, that millions of girls in this country have faced rape, have faced sexual assault, but have kept quiet, and that Me Too was all about that. Now coming to the police part, yes, the police cannot be absolved. PCR vans did not reach. You need to suspend them. You need to do an inquiry, but you need to have a further roadmap that if something like this happens, what is the response time of the vehicle? That needs to be settled.
See, some can be pushed up, pulled up for negligence. Some can be suspended. You have made a point there that as far as Nidhi is concerned, you can always ask the question that it was, after all, she was your friend. You could have done something more, but you may want to lean towards giving her the benefit of doubt that she was so shocked, she was so scared of the stigma, of the trauma, of whatever was going to follow. But those brutes in the car,
they cannot be.
Those brutes in the car should not have been spared. Vikram Singh ji, how is it that only one person was named in the FIR? Somebody called the cops and said, go easy. Whoever is that person, should that person not be named, shamed and also held to account? Vikram Singh ji, final word.
Absolutely. Multiple lacunae in every stakeholder, everybody who's in the dramatis personae in the whole episode. The police, the friend, and of course those in the car, and of course a skillful investigator, and anybody who has tried to dilute the case and the FIR and the sections needs to be named, shamed, and also be booked under appropriate sections of law, so that he does not replicate his mistake and this misdemeanor ever, and it should be a lesson to one and all.
I thank you all. The Delhi police have a lot of questions to answer. The investigation throws yet another turn as this entire saga unfolds, and with more and more details tumbling out. We'll follow this story very, very closely here at CNN News 18. We're going to take a very short break here on the right stand. When we come back, Subramaniam Jaishankar takes the right stand for Bharat, and he calls out Pakistan. He calls out Pakistan as the epicenter of terror, and he does this in Europe while speaking to the Austria ORF. We get you the details. Stay with us.
At the time that demonetization happened in November 2016, there was 16.42 lakh crore total value of banknotes that was in circulation. 86% of it was 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. And the RBI, in a report submitted to Parliament, said that out of that 16.42 lakhs, more than 15.5 lakh crores came back as cash in circulation. The opposition is using this number, and has been for the last many years, to say that the purpose of demonetization has been defeated. Do you agree or not?
Well, I think, frankly, this exercise that we are having today, after so many years, it feels so odd to be discussing something that is history. But yes, to answer your question, I think the purposes of demonetization were not achieved. And I think it was not possible to achieve them. The only way you could handle, the idea was not a good one. And the only way you could have done it was if the government had issued 10,000 and 5,000 rupee notes for a couple of years and then withdraw those. Because then it will be just the big guys you would have caused trouble to.
Okay.
But in fact, it was a tragedy. The hurt that the whole country felt was far, far out of proportion to it. Now, that's the outcome. But the judgment today doesn't deal with outcome. And I'm actually glad, because the Supreme Court has shown restraint. It has said that we will deal only with the process. And that's the right thing for the Supreme Court to say. Otherwise, they keep getting accused of overreach.
Mm-hmm.
Courts should not be put in a position to make judgments on economic issues
Policy.
By and large.
Okay.
And so really, as regard the legality of the situation, frankly, the minority opinion, or I am sympathetic to the dissent opinion, because I do believe that the RBI, it sounds like it was a fait accompli presented to the RBI. I mean, there's very little for us to go by. There is now, of course, an affidavit. They say they approve it, etc. But it required a lot more thought. It required on the part of RBI and a lot of application of mind.
Okay, so let me ask you, Karan Bhandari,
really,
so if
but,
the
but
RBI,
as to
sorry, if the
let
court...
me just finish, Zaka.
Okay, go on.
The decision, ultimately, this is where I disagree with the minority opinion, that the decision of such a
magnitude,
significant matter has to be a decision, a sovereign decision of the executive.
Okay.
Sure, RBI can recommend these things, but you can't fault that.
Okay.
The idea.
So let me ask
Ishkaran,
so where does that square, Ishkaran, with what Mr. Das said, that a decision of such a great magnitude with the ostensible aims of tackling black money and checking fake notes in circulation, tackling terrorism, that is terror money to fund terrorism, this cannot be something that is passed as a legislation in Parliament, because it would defeat the very purpose of bringing such a move. This has to be exclusively within the realm of the sovereign. But if you look at the dissenting judgment, she says it should have been brought in not as a gazette notification, but either as a legislation through Parliament or as an ordinance.
Zaka, there are three parts to this debate. One is political, the other is economic, the third is legal. Because it's a Supreme Court judgment, let's deal with the legal part first.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court has, and the majority judgment, let's be clear, the law of the land is the majority judgment. The dissenting opinion might have academic value, might have scholarly value, but the decision of the Supreme Court is as announced by the majority. What they have said, first, on the aspect whether it was hasty, they said, no, it was not hasty. You have to have secrecy on these issues. If it goes to Parliament, what would be the secrecy? Secondly, they said that the object had a reasonable nexus with the decision. So the decision of demonetization had a reasonable nexus with what he was seeking to achieve. Whether that is achieved or not is a matter of political and economic debate, which has to be outside the court.
Okay.
Third aspect which the court went into is whether the central government had the power to do so. The court emphatically ruled that the central government had the power to do so, even if the proposal emanated from the central government, that is legally valid. So all these aspects which were highlighted, that the decision is illegal, it's hasty, it has caused misery to people in the sense of the process where notes were being exchanged, the court even noted, even though unfortunately people might have suffered some misery while the notes were being exchanged, that does not mean it's legal or not. Any big decision of the government can cause misery to certain people. That makes it neither legal nor illegal. That's a consequence which the government has to deal with politically if people face too much misery.
Aishwarya Mahadev, let me start with you first. This is what the majority of judges, 4:1, majority judgment said, and I want to read some portions of it. The purpose of demonetization was proper. There was prior consultation between the Central Board of the RBI and the central government. It is not relevant whether the objective was achieved or not. Action and time period given for currency exchange has not been hit. And this is the most important part. The government has...
Well, call it master of all psyops, but here's something that was not expected from the Taliban, ladies and gentlemen, and we just got news coming in through. An Afghan Taliban member, an official who is working in the office of the Deputy Prime Minister, has warned Pakistan against military attacks on Afghanistan or Afghan soil by sharing a picture of the 1971 Pak Army surrender to the Indian Army during the liberation of what is now Bangladesh, saying that Pakistan should stay away from Afghanistan in order to avoid a repeat of such a surrender again. So that's what was put out, and thereafter, Taliban spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid has issued a strong message in Urdu, where he said that Afghanistan wants better relations with all its neighbors, including Pakistan, and he said Pakistani authorities are making statements against Afghanistan which are regrettable and not acceptable. He's also added that the Islamic Emirate is trying its best to try and ensure that the territory of Afghanistan is not used against Pakistan, but it is also the responsibility of the Pakistani side to try and control the situation. He's gone on to further add that it is advised to avoid expressing baseless and provocative ideas and suggestions. So this is sharp reaction to the Pakistani minister and Pakistani government turning around and trying to warn Afghanistan and tell Afghanistan to keep their act on the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan and to say that don't allow them any kind of shelter on Afghan soil. But like they say that if you reap as you sow. So Pakistan today being pounded and also a master of a psyop that's been pushed out by this official in the Pakistani Deputy PM's office in Afghanistan. So you don't want a repeat of 1971, stay off our territory. Braggadocio many would believe, but then this is also a phenomenal rap on the knuckles and reminding of a ghost that continues to haunt the Pakistan military establishment. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to what is perhaps a reminder to the world and especially to the West that's come in very timely by the External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar, who was in a candid interview on Austrian television in Austria, and some sharp questions were being asked of him, and he was candid enough. And especially on Pakistan being the epicenter of terror, he pulled no punches. Listen into what he had to say.
I think epicenter is a very diplomatic word because this is a country which has attacked the Parliament of India some years ago, which attacked the city of Mumbai, which went after hotels and foreign tourists, which every day sends terrorists across the border. If you control your sovereign space, which I believe they do, if the terrorist camps operate in broad daylight in cities with recruitment and financing, can you really tell me that the Pakistani state doesn't know what's going on? We had agreements with China not to mass forces in our border areas. And they have not observed those agreements, which is why we have the currently tense situation that we do. We had an agreement not to unilaterally change the line of control, which they have tried to unilaterally do that. So there is, I think, a perception that we have which derives directly from our experiences.
So, not just calling out Pakistan, but also China and mincing no words there. Let's go across to Ambassador Prabhu Dayal and also General VP Malik joining us this evening. This double-barrel attack and not pulling any more punches. General Saab and Ambassador Prabhu Dayal, namaste, Jai Hind, and thank you very, very much. General Saab, finally, somebody is holding the mirror to the West, and especially when Jaishankar ji told them that this was at a time, our equation with Russia was formed at a time when the West was busy arming a dictator-led or a military-led Pakistan.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm glad that our foreign minister, he is speaking boldly and he's speaking the truth, of course. And wherever the Europeans and even the Americans have faulted, so he is showing the mirror to them. And whatever he has said in the interview in Vienna is absolutely bullseye, I would call it, because this is the way these people recently, if you recall, the foreign minister of Pakistan had the cheeks to say that while Osama bin Laden is dead, but the butcher of Gujarat, calling our prime minister, he is alive. Now, this is the kind of language that they have been using. And knowing Mr. Jaishankar, I'm quite satisfied, quite happy the way he is speaking absolute candidly and speaking the truth, showing the mirror to those people who have been closing their eyes on all these activities, both on our northern front as well as on the western, as our western neighbor.
But General Saab, this is also at a day when very clearly the security establishment has been able to establish or also state that the Rajouri attack and the Rajouri killings have been orchestrated by a new outfit, a new terror outfit, and this has also been sent across, and they have infiltrated from Pakistan. What was interesting General Saab, is that Ambassador and Ambassador Prabhudayal, I'll come to you after this, that Foreign Minister Jaishankar told the West, why is it that you are not ready to call Pakistan for its terrorism? Because the interviewer kept asking, is there going to be an India-Pakistan war in the future or conflict in the future? He said, you are looking at the future, where that means you are anyway endorsing or saying, all right, let Pakistan continue with its terrorism. You are not calling out Pakistan for its terrorism. Is this where we have been, or we have, we are lagging behind in controlling the narrative? That Pakistan has been able to perhaps fool the West or get the West to think that what it's doing is all right?
No. Is it to me?
Yes, General Saab, and then I'll bring in Ambassador Prabhudayal on the same.
Yeah, you see, firstly, I think that the way that question was put by the interviewer in Vienna on that ORF channel, I thought that was quite immature. You are trying to provoke the foreign minister, and you are making him say something which he doesn't wish to say that. And something totally, I would say, undiplomatic way of interviewing a senior minister of his stature. And so therefore, I think the reply that he gave to that interviewer was absolutely apt and candid. That is how it should be. And there is no need for us to talk of war between India and Pakistan or India and China, but whatever the situation is, that needs to be understood by everybody outside our region, which is what this interviewer was lacking. He did not, obviously, did not want to mention what is going on, the reason for the tension that is going on between India and Pakistan, why India is refusing to talk to them, because they will not stop terrorism in our country for such a long time. Everybody knows in the world that for a very long time, Pakistan has been funding terrorists on its soil. And that is exactly what our foreign minister said to him, which I thought was a very correct reply. And talking about Rajouri, again, I mean, the fact is that this is what is going on. Not only what has happened in Rajouri, but also look at the number of drones which are now being landed in India to drop drugs and to drop the guns and rifles and ammunition, etc. So there is no let up from Pakistan's side. And there is no reason for us to, to give them, to show a blind eye to these things. We will say what needs to be said in the whole world.
But are we saying it perhaps a tad too late only now? And is that why Pakistan somehow tends to control the narrative? So whatever Pakistan does is not talked about. How India reacts and what India does becomes the, the whole aspect structure of the entire Western narrative, Ambassador Prabhudayal. That's what I was trying to point.
Well, as General Malik said, the West has been turning a blind eye to the terrorist operations which the Pakistan establishment indulges in. Pakistan uses non-state actors to carry out terrorist attacks against India. But because it is inconvenient for the West to focus its attention on them, such incidents get ignored or they are put on the back burner. As you said, the West likes to talk about what India's reaction has been. But then, more and more instances are now coming to light where even some of the Western countries are being affected by terrorism which is emanating from Pakistan. We all know that Osama bin Laden was given shelter by the Pakistanis and he was killed in Abbottabad, not far from the headquarters of the army establishment there. We also know that the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks in the United States, that mastermind was a Pakistani. And there are many, many more instances which have now surfaced where there is clear involvement of Pakistan-based organizations in terrorist acts, not just against India, but against other countries also. So I hope that the Western countries will now wake up to the reality of what Pakistan is, and they will call a spade a spade.
But that's the point, Ambassador
They will
Saab.
blame the terrorist state.
Do they need to wake up, or do they know but they turn a blind eye? Because there is a vested geopolitical interest there, and that was being served. Because that also was called out by Ambassador Jaishankar, Foreign Minister Jaishankar.
Well, they ought to wake up to the necessity of calling out Pakistan as a sponsor of terrorism. They have been completely shy of calling a spade, although they know what the true colors of Pakistan are. So in my view, it is time for them to criticize Pakistan where they need to criticize and call out the true colors of Pakistan, which is its terrorism sponsoring color.
But is it also, General Saab, somewhere are we to be faulted as a country for not asserting ourselves? For not asserting the strength that we are with 1/5 of the world's population, with as one of the fastest growing countries in the world, and the force that we are to be reckoned with? Because the US President Joe Biden can get away with saying, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you hide, we will hunt you down no matter how long. And that's hailed by the world. Then India should also have the right to say that we will hunt down, and wherever you are, you dare raise a finger against India, we will hunt you down. We don't have that attitude. Is that our fault? Are we to be faulted there?
Look, we are not, of course, as a nation, we are not used to speaking a very harsh language, which you have quoted just now. And all our diplomats over the years have been speaking a very soft language compared to that, which may be at fault sometimes. And I'm glad that the present foreign minister is now speaking. I wouldn't call it a harsh language, but it definitely a straightforward, harder language. But then there are other reasons also why the West is so scared of Pakistan and calling a spade there. One, of course, is the nuclear weapons. And they keep on harping on it because they are not too sure whether nuclear weapons in Pakistan are in the right hands. So that's one scare which is being spread by Pakistan, and it is taken by the Western countries. The other reason is that maybe our own communications also is not very good. And the fact is that New York Times and many others, they keep talking about India, but mostly in adverse terms. Why? So apparently there is something wrong with our communication policy which needs to be corrected, and which needs to be corrected in the Western world, particularly both in Europe as well as in USA.
So you believe that there is a need to perhaps not just correct the narrative and the tone, but also those who are setting the narrative somewhere influence those people also, or those elements also. And somewhere has Pakistan stolen a march from us, and do we need to correct that? Are we in the process of doing that now, Ambassador Prabhudev? This soft approach doesn't work.
Pakistan has not stolen a march on us. Pakistan is widely recognized as a failed country. It is not just sponsoring terrorism, but it is neglecting the welfare of its own people, which is why it is in the doldrums. And we have been identifying all the negative tendencies of Pakistan. We have, in our interaction with other countries, we have been apprising them about what Pakistan really stands for and how it harms not only us, but will potentially harm other countries too. Unfortunately, sometimes Pakistan is regarded as a strategic ally, for instance, by the United States when it needs Pakistan's assistance in regard to Afghanistan. So Pakistan fully utilizes whatever credentials it has as a possible ally or tool or whatever you may call for Western countries, which is why they become soft. But we have not been failing in apprising all concerned about what we think is the true nature of Pakistan.
No, it's not. It's not just and
many countries are quite cognizant of the reality of Pakistan.
Somewhere like China, does the West will also recognize only might? Will they only recognize a nation that is ready to exercise might and force and teach others and just slap the adversary down on the ground and put them on the mat? Well, that's food for thought. I thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom on this platform. Winding up the right stand on that note. Stay with us. Zaka is ready with brass tacks.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. It's the most gruesome and shocking case of hit and run. Anjali, a 23-year-old victim, run down by 5 drunk men on New Year's night. Now shocking new details are emerging. She was not alone that night. She had a friend named Nidhi who was with her. We managed to track Nidhi down. We'll be playing out her exclusive interview shortly. Why did she flee? Why did she not raise an alarm? Why didn't she complain to the police? Why didn't she even tell anyone in her family that her friend was stuck underneath the chassis of a car? And so far, why have the police been so out of the loop and so behind the curve on this case? Up until this morning, this was not public knowledge that there was a second person along with Anjali. We also speak to an eyewitness who claims that he was chasing this car, this Baleno car in which there were 5 drunk men, under whose car Anjali was stuck for over 2 hours. He was trying to track down this car for over an hour, and 3 PCR vans passed him by, but they did nothing. But first, the story which has outraged all of India.
If you thought that this was the most chilling footage of the Delhi hit and drag horror from the 1st of January, then think again. Multiple CCTV clips have emerged in the last 24 hours, deepening the mystery over what happened in Sultanpuri. The first big twist is that the victim, Anjali, was not alone when her scooty was hit by a Baleno in which there were 5 drunk male occupants. This clip from 170